video is an important step in your ability to achieve the best results with your donors. At the conclusion of this video presentation, you will be able to load, prime, and troubleshoot for single-needle extended life platelets with the LRS enhancement for leukoreduction procedures. Throughout this video, extended life platelets will be referred to as ELP and leukoreduction system as LRS. But first, let's review a few things that will be helpful. The first step in completing this training program is to review the Getting Started segment of your workbook. You should also be thoroughly familiar with warnings, cautions, and adverse effects, which can be found just behind the table of contents in the Kobe Spectra Operator's Manual. If you have not already done so, please take a moment at this time to review these sections. Now that you are prepared, we will begin by loading the disposable set for single-needle ELP LRS procedures. Loading the disposable set is covered in the Loading, Priming, and Removing Disposables section of your Operator's Manual. Begin by making sure the system is plugged in and the power is turned on. The system will go through a short self-check. The Kobe Spectra system comes with 3 types of fillers, and you need to check that the correct filler is installed. Some procedures require the single-stage filler. Standard ELP procedures require the dual-stage filler. You will need the dual-stage filler with the LRS chamber bracket. To check the filler, press the Unlock Cover key. Slide the centrifuge cover back and lower the centrifuge door. If a different filler is in place, remove it as follows. Push the filler latching pin toward the center of the centrifuge and raise the filler latch. Push the filler locking pin toward the center of the centrifuge. Hold and raise the filler with both hands. To install the dual-stage filler with the LRS chamber bracket, begin by rotating the centrifuge so that the centrifuge alignment dot and pin are facing away from you. Position the filler so that the dots on the centrifuge and filler are aligned. Place the filler over the centrifuge assembly and press down until the filler locking pin is securely in place. Lower the filler latch. Lift up on the filler to ensure that it is securely in place and close the centrifuge door and cover. Stop the tape now and complete exercise 1. Now you are ready to learn how to load the disposable set. Make sure you have a single-needle ELP with LRS disposable set. Peel back the cover and place the package on the centrifuge cover. Use the package hook to hold the package while you load the disposable set. Unpacking the various components of the disposable set in the correct order is essential to a smooth and easy operation. As a helpful reminder, we will introduce an expression known as CBCC. CBCC stands for coils, bags, cartridges, and channel. This refers to the order in which the disposable package should be unpacked. Begin by removing the coils. Lift the inlet line coil and remove the white paper tapes. Notice that for a single needle procedure, the inlet line and the return line are together. Hang the access connection on the hook on the IV pole. Next, remove the green striped access saline line. Place the access saline line over the top of the system. Now we are ready for the next letter in our CBCC expression, B, which stands for bags. Remove and hang the 2 ELP collect bags. Use the slide clamp to close off one bag. Next, remove and hang the waste bag. Then remove the single needle bag and lay it over the back of the machine. Finally, loosen the cartridge and hang the plasma bag. Next, we need to load the cartridges. Loosen the air chambers. Remove the return pump cartridge and snap it into place. The Kobe label should be facing up. Remove the access pump cartridge and snap it into place. Again, the Kobe label should be facing up. Remove the AC line and place it over the top of the system. Ensure that all tubing is clear of pumps and untangled. Then, press the Continue key on the display panel to load the tubing onto the pumps. Notice that the cartridge clamps will automatically retract and the tubing is threaded onto the pump rotors. The valves will open to the load position. Verify that the pumps are loaded and visually check for kinked tubing in the pump rotors. Now for the last C, the centrifuge channel. Remove the channel, discard the package, and lay the channel on the centrifuge cover. Now that you have unpacked the disposable set, let's review the process. Stop the tape now and complete exercise 2. Now we are ready to begin loading tubing into the valves, sensors, and detectors. You will find 4 tubes coming out of the top of the return pump cartridge. Floss the 4 tubes into the plasma and collect valves. Do not twist or turn the tubing. Place the return pressure sensor in the housing. Push downward and turn clockwise to lock in place. Next, install the cuvette into the Collect Concentration Monitor, commonly referred to as the CCM. Avoid touching the cuvette because fingerprints may decrease the accuracy of its readings. Pull the housing out and turn it counterclockwise to lock it in the load position. While holding the tubing on both sides of the cuvette with a flat side parallel to the front panel, slide the cuvette into position. Turn the housing clockwise and lower it over the cuvette. Next, we need to load the RBC line into the RBC valve and detector. Ensure that the line going to the plasma pump is not loaded in the RBC valve. Insert the waste divert lines into the waste valve assembly and pull down on the lines to seat the Y connector on the pin. Insert the return and inlet air chambers into the air detectors. Be certain the air chamber filters are below the housings. The waste divert lines should be toward you. Floss the inlet line into the centrifuge pressure sensor housing. Next, place the access pressure sensor in its housing. Push down and turn clockwise to lock in place. Bend and insert the return line in the return line valve. Next, we need to load the return flow controller. Place the return flow controller into the load position by turning the hand crank counterclockwise to the load position where it will stop. The single needle bag is symmetrical and may be loaded with either side up. Fold the bag in half lengthwise and insert the bag into the right side of the return flow controller. Grasp the bag's load tab through the other side and place the bag's locator hole over the locator pin. Ensure the bag is lying flat on the plate. Place the bag's tubes on either side of the bag alignment block. Now that you have loaded the front panel portion of the disposable set, let's review the process. Stop the tape now and do exercise 3. Welcome back. We are now ready to load the centrifuge. Press the unlock cover key, slide the cover back, and lower the door. Rotate the centrifuge so that the loading port is open to the front and raise the filler latch. Fold the channel in half, placing the LRS chamber between the folded portions of the channel. Thread it through the loading port and pull it out from the top. Note, a standard ELP set will not have the LRS chamber. Using the filler slots as a guide, align the channel. Place the collar into the centrifuge collar holder with a pointed edge facing out and close the latch cover over the collar. Load the LRS chamber into the bracket. Lower the filler latch into the locked position. Start at the control chamber, which can be identified by the two tubes, and press the channel into the filler. Work around to the opposite side of the channel. Complete a visual inspection to make sure that the channel is properly seated. Press the tubes completely into the slots. Note, for a standard ELP set, you will also have to load the collect tube. Check the bearings to be sure they are securely attached to the tubing. Place the lower and upper bearings in the bearing holders. Make sure the bearings are seated properly. Place the upper collar in the upper collar holder. Visually check that it is installed properly as shown by this diagram. Inspect all lines to ensure that they are not kinked. Floss the tubing into the exit slot. Rotate the centrifuge in a clockwise direction several times to ensure that the tubing is secure and will not twist. Both the upper and lower bearings should also remain in place. Close the centrifuge door and cover. Now let's take a look at this process from beginning to end. Stop the tape now and do exercise 4. We are now ready to prime the system. To begin, press 1 to select ELP. Next, select single needle by pressing 1. The asterisk will move to single needle. Press Enter to confirm your selection. Next, we need to select a standard or an LRS procedure. Press 2 to select an LRS procedure, then press Enter to confirm your selection. The system will instruct you to set the return flow controller to the prime position. Crank the flow control handle clockwise until it can no longer turn. Verify that the lines leaving the right side of the bag are not kinked or twisted. Press Yes to verify you want to continue with prime. The system will instruct you to clamp the sample system and the needle lines and close the saline line. To do this, simply close all pinch and roller clamps except the white pinch clamp at the access manifold. You will close 4 of the 5 clamps as demonstrated here. Press the Continue key and the system will instruct you to connect the fluid containers. Anticoagulant and saline must be obtained from your supplies. Consult your operator's manual for the proper solutions. Hang the anticoagulant bag on the far left hook. Hang the saline bag on the next hook. For donor safety, be sure not to confuse the connection of the AC and saline lines. Connect the AC line with the orange spike to the anticoagulant container and fill the drip chamber 1/2 full. Remember to use aseptic technique throughout this procedure. Then place the AC line in the AC level detector. Ensure that the AC line is not kinked and the filter is below the AC level detector. Next, connect the access saline line to the saline container and fill the drip chamber 1/2 full. Press the Continue key. The system will then instruct you to open the access saline line. Open the roller clamp on the green access saline line and press the Continue key to prime the tubing set. The system will perform several tests as part of priming the tubing set. The valves will change position and the pumps will change flow rates as the Spectra system goes through the priming process. The display will show various messages to inform you of the progress of the prime. When the system instructs you to prime between the Y manifolds, open the white pinch clamp on the needle line. Hold the Y manifold slightly below the level of the saline bag. Slowly open the white roller clamp between the Y manifolds. Prime to the Y manifold closest to the access needle, but no farther. If saline goes past the Y manifold, raise the needle line above the saline bag and allow the saline to recede to the correct position. Close the white roller clamp and the needle pinch clamp. Press the Continue key. Next, close the roller clamp on the green striped access saline line. Close the white pinch clamp located at the access manifold. Press the Continue key to test the inlet AC ratio. You will know that you have completed all of the loading and priming steps correctly when the system gives the following warning. Do not connect donor-patient before running alarm tests. Take a look at this procedure without interruption. Stop the tape now and do exercise 5. We are now ready for troubleshooting. The Cobe Spectra has a built-in safety system that signals you with alarms. Becoming familiar with how the alarms sound, how they look, and what they mean will make a big difference in your ability to stay calm and troubleshoot the problem efficiently without having to reload and reprime the system. Because system shutdown alarms require your immediate attention, they are indicated by a distinctive chime alarm, a flashing red alarm LED, and a flashing alarm message. When the pause LED is on steady, the alarm is still active. When the pause LED is flashing, the alarm condition has been cleared. Warning and operator attention alarms require you to be aware of the system's current condition and are indicated by an audio alarm and a flashing yellow warning LED. To feel confident when troubleshooting, you will need to be well acquainted with the troubleshooting section of the operator's manual. This section has a bright red tab to help you locate it quickly. Turn to the table with the heading that reads Spectra Alarms in the Troubleshooting section. Notice that it provides a concise listing of the alarm messages. It also refers you to a page further in the troubleshooting section that will give you more details. This specific video training will focus only on a few common alarm conditions that occur during the prime mode. For donor safety, it is important to note that the alarm recovery procedures shown in this video may differ from the procedures used when a donor is connected and the system is in run mode. Let's practice using the operator's manual for troubleshooting prime alarms. Stop the tape now and do exercise 6. You were troubleshooting the alarm that read return pressure sensor did not reach alarm limit. Let's review some of the possible causes for this alarm. One possible cause is misloaded tubing. Once you have corrected the problem, press Continue to clear the alarm. Let's look at another possible cause for this alarm. The return flow controller may not be fully up in the prime position. This alarm will also occur if the return pressure sensor is not placed properly in the sensor housing. If fluid is in the return line, you cannot simply remove the sensor and reseat it. Doing so causes the diaphragm to move out of position. We will now go through the steps to reposition the diaphragm. This procedure is covered in the Recovery Procedures section of your operator's manual. Clamp the line just above the return pressure sensor and remove the sensor from its housing. Then remove the tubing from the return line valve. Remove the single needle bag from the return flow controller and place it on the centrifuge cover. Lower the saline container until it is even with the centrifuge cover. Watch the diaphragm in the sensor and wait until it is properly positioned. While keeping the saline bag lowered, load the return pressure sensor. Then rehang the saline bag. Return the single needle bag to the return flow controller, making sure to crank clockwise all the way back to the prime position. Then reinsert the return line into the valve. Remove the clamp above the return pressure sensor and press the Continue key to clear the alarm. Stop the tape now and do exercise 7. Let's review two of the possible causes for the centrifuge pressure high alarm. First, this alarm would occur if there were twisted or pinched lines in the centrifuge. Open the centrifuge chamber, examine all the lines, reseat any loose lines, and close the centrifuge chamber. Press Continue to clear the alarm. If the alarm does not clear, you will need to check the inlet line on the centrifuge pressure sensor. Once you move the line in the sensor, you must reprime the system. To reprime the system, press Change Mode, then select 2 for Prime. Stop the tape and do exercise 8. Welcome back. You were troubleshooting the access pressure error alarm. This alarm will occur if the access line clamps are open or the access saline roller clamp is closed. Verify these clamps and press the Continue key to clear the alarm. This alarm will also occur if the access pressure sensor was not properly loaded or if the access saline roller clamp was open before the pumps were loaded. Remember, if fluid is in the access line, you cannot simply remove the access pressure sensor and reseat it. Doing so causes the diaphragm to move out of position. We will now go through the steps to reposition the diaphragm. This is also covered in the Recovery Procedures section of your operator's manual. Remove the access pressure sensor from its housing. Check that the access line clamp is closed, and check that the access saline roller clamp is open. Lower the saline container until the fluid level in the container is even with the centrifuge cover for about 10 seconds. Next, raise the saline bag until the fluid is level with the access pressure sensor and hold at this level for about 10 seconds. Meanwhile, watch the diaphragm and wait until it is properly positioned. Then, load the access pressure sensor while keeping the saline container even with the sensor. Rehang the saline container and press the Continue key to clear the alarm. You have just completed the training program for loading, priming, and troubleshooting for a single-needle ELP LRS procedure. Information on how to continue with this procedure may be found in the single-needle LRS section of your operator's manual. With your expertise, our support, and the automated capability of the Kobe Spectra apheresis system, you can rest assured that the best apheresis care is being provided for each and every donor.